together so they can try things. Yell about it, it's podcast so that you can try things. Now we will stop singing so that we can all now try this.
Hello and welcome to Now Try This, the podcast where two best friends get together every week to try something new. I am Marcus, wizard of all things wonderful.
And I am Nick, bard of the bombastic podcast that's pining for your pies. Roll initiative. Boom. Because today is the D&D movie, Dungeons and Dragons. I hit a light. Honor Among Thieves. It should be Among Thieves. Marcus, I am so excited. It was my challenge for you this week, and I was super stoked to talk about D&D. But before we get to that, guys, you know the things that podcasts ask you to do. Do those things. Rate, review us, let us know, follow us on Instagram. But most importantly, the most helpful thing to keep the podcast going, to help us defray the cost, is to go to patreon.com/nowtrythiscast, where people have 15 hours left to vote for next month's challenge. And we were just talking before we got here, Marcus. Freaking bangers of freaking challenges this month.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking Neon Genesis Evangelion. We're talking The Princess Bride. We're talking John Wick 4. All the other ones are also hype, but I know them less and they're less timely.
Fair enough.
I don't know what True Lies is. What's True Lies?
True Lies is an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Oh.
That is good, I think. And then I think there's a new TV series out.
Wait, is that different? I think for a second I was like gonna describe it, but then I realized I was about to describe Total Recall. I know that movie.
Yes.
I don't know what True Lies is. Is this one sci-fi at all?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. No, well, it's like government espionage.
So not sci-fi at all.
I mean, if you believe Arnold Schwarzenegger could be a spy, then if that's realistic to you, then it's just a good action fic.
If it's sci-fi at all, I would have guessed I saw some of it, but if it's not sci-fi at all, everything I'm thinking of is Total Recall. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, everything you're thinking of is Total Recall.
Then we got Up Here, which is a new musical drama that I know you like a lot. I haven't really started it yet. And then Extraordinary, a new Hulu series. I mean, like really good stuff. And you guys can vote. All you got to do is give $1 to the Patreon and you get to put in that tally and make your voice heard. And if you want to become a $5 patron, you can submit these challenges. Put your voice out there. Have people vote on what you want. And then all patrons can come over to the Discord and fight about which one's the best one. Be like, yo, True Lies, that's the best one. You should come watch it because Schwarzenegger, we like him now. You know?
Yeah.
No, let's just forget about the fact he was a Republican governor. Let's just love him now. Yeah. Who cares? Right.
Look,
nice.
I don't mean to talk about politics, but of all the Republicans I've seen recently,
he was the best Republican ever.
He seemed solid. He was
like
very
moderate.
Republican.
He was very like, look, can we we're just gonna do just steer the ship. I'm sure he did some shitty stuff. I'm sure he did 100%. Some stuff that was okay. But when we're talking about like what DeSantis is doing with Disney, or like all the things he's doing with like taking books away and like all the things, it's crazy.
I don't know how anyone can support that
in the polls. He's not doing great. Trump is coming for him. Trump is coming for
Let's
his
not
ass.
talk about sad things anymore, and let's
Can I tell you one thing?
Dragons.
One thing about it. Because somebody called DeSantis Meatball Ron, and Trump hasn't come up with a good nickname for him yet, but he has been saying in interviews and stuff, listen, people call him Meatball Ron. I'm not one of those people, but people are calling him Meatball Ron. So it's so Trumpy to say the thing and not say the thing.
So stupid. Honestly, I've been seeing so many AI memes of like Trump and Biden playing like video games together.
Those have been coming up. I haven't been watching them.
That,
I just they keep coming up.
In my brain, I don't care about the election. I just want to see them like game.
I've been seeing them duel Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff. That's what's coming up in my feeds. I was like, I don't want to watch that.
Honestly,
crazy.
I feel like no, I don't actually feel this way. But it would be cool if presidential elections were decided by duels.
Whoa, what a world that would be. We'd be in the Yu-Gi-Oh world. That'd be crazy.
Hell yeah.
But we're talking like era 2 or 3, like era maybe 5Ds of Yu-Gi-Oh, because current Yu-Gi-Oh, nobody wants a president that could win a current Yu-Gi-Oh tournament.
No.
shade to all the Yu-Gi-Oh players
If you can win
out there.
OG Dark Magician versus Blue Eyes, like that's the precedent I want.
Yeah. Marcus, is there anything you'd like to talk about before we get to D&D?
Honestly, no. Is there anything
Great.
you want to talk about before we get to
Nope.
D&D?
So-
Wow! Bam, 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 bam! Zooming right to the plot of the episode.
Today's challenge is Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, and it's a 2023 American fantasy heist comedy film directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, who co-wrote the screenplay with Michael Gillio from a story from Chris McKay and Gillio, based on the TRPG Dungeons & Dragons set in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting.
Okay.
Marcus,
Yes.
we have talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
We're a couple D&D boys out here. We have played a lot of D&D over the years, and in fact, I think our biggest claim to fame is we've been playing in the same campaign for 4 years?
I think the podcast is our biggest claim to fame.
I meant our claim to fame to being D&D nerds.
Okay, I know what you meant.
Listen, a lot of people play D&D, but it's the ones they put in movies that I'd be like, I've been playing the same campaign for 16 years, and we're on the way to
true.
doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we joined the campaign late. They've been playing that same campaign for 6 or 7 years.
which is amazing. The world is continuing to grow. It's just such a fun game, and it's a good group of guys hanging out.
And Marcus, talk to me a little about the explosion at D&D, because you got a little history with D&D. I know. I don't. I am a bandwagoner. I've always wanted to play, but it wasn't until 5e came out and it became a little more mainstream, and I was able to buy a box at Walmart that I started to play.
That's cool.
You've been playing for a long time.
Yeah,
little
I mean,
bits
I've
and
been
pieces.
playing pretty much since high school. So I had a group of friends. I went to an all nerd high school. I don't know how you can really differentiate, but I definitely went to an all nerd high school. And so there was a group of my friends that were like, "Oh, are we meeting up for the secret game?" And I was like, "What's that?" And then the group of friends grew, and they were like, "Okay, are we meeting up for the secret game tonight? Are we gonna hang out? Oh, who's hosting the secret game?" And it was driving me crazy because it's like so many of my friends keep talking about this secret game and using the term secret game, and it's making me upset because I'm like, I want to know what the secret game is, and they're like, "You don't want to know what the secret game is." I'm like, "Yeah, I really, really do want to know what the secret game is." And so then they invited me over, not telling me even beforehand what the secret game was. They're like, "Okay, we're meeting up this day. Come with us after school. Like, we're gonna go to like my friend's house and like do it." So we're like, okay. So I went, and they're like, "It's called Dungeons and Dragons," and I was like, "Okay, I've never heard of this." And they're like, "So basically, you make up a character, and then your character does stuff." And then they passed me a sheet, and they're like, "I made you a character." And I was like, "Oh, that's so nice. Awesome." And then I played my first game of D&D, and I had a blast. We were just being silly, like joking around. I think I kind of, fell into some of the trappings of, first time D&D stuff where you're like a little bit of a murder hobo and you're being goofy, but then eventually you get into the role play a little bit more once you're more comfortable with it. And I had fun, and we played for like, I don't know, at least a few months, if not a year. And then it just kind of died off. Well, we fought a big monster and the game kind of like ended, and then everyone got too busy. But we had a finale that was kind of nice, and it was great. Had a good time.
Love that. I remember my first time was with a post-college roommate and one of his friends, and it was 3.5. And I made my character, who's the same character I still play today. That's when I made Misarove. It's the first character I made, and I still play with a swashbuckling bard. And we've been playing ever since. I just finished DMing a campaign last week where my players finally fought Strahd. The Curse of Strahd is a very famous D&D campaign where they fight this famous Dracula-esque vampire, and they fought that vampire, and they think they won. But they didn't do enough research to go and research that when you kill a vampire, it just turns to mist and goes back to its coffin. So they killed him. They saved the realm. And then half of them, and they thought it was like the swan moment, like the walking in the sunset. And I was giving them all a reason to leave. and half of them stayed in this demi-plane, shadow plane, and half of them left. And then I got to describe how, and then color started to fade from people's faces. The clouds started covering the sun again. And it seems like Barovia was the same. And then when you look over at the castle that was destroyed in the battle, it's as if nothing ever happened. And they're like, what? And I was like, psh, and we're done. Good job, guys. You didn't do it.
That's
so it was
awesome.
a nice, it wasn't a TPK, but it was also you fucked up and you did not do it right.
Yeah. That's kind of nice.
But this D&D movie, they've been talking about doing this for a while. Obviously, there was a D&D movie in the back in the day and a cartoon before that. We don't have to talk about the etymology of the whole D&D. Like, I'm excited to talk about this movie, but like, they've been trying to do this movie for a long time. And D&D is one of those brands that has been around since the 70s. And it's just so weird because it's so synonymous with fantasy. It's so important. It's owned by Wizards of the Coast, who also owns Magic and a lot of other name things. But that's also owned by Hasbro.
Hasbro bought Wizards of the Coast, yeah.
And then Warner Brothers made this movie, I think.
You got it.
Oh, no. It began with Warner Brothers.
Did someone else buy it off them?
And now it's Paramount. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's on Paramount now. Yeah, so many things. The directors change. But the directors of this are the directors of Game Night. You saw that movie?
Yes, I love that movie. That was a great movie.
Loved it. It was a sleeper hit movie. Anyone that
very
hasn't seen
watchable.
Beautiful comedy. Like, though we don't get comedies like that anymore.
No.
It was like a classic, just a comedy. It was wonderful. But to jump right into it, we have a star-studded cast: Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Renee Jean-Paul, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, Hugh Grant, and they are just an adventuring party, and like they do the adventure, and we got this movie.
We did get this movie.
Uh-oh.
Nothing against the movie yet, but I feel like I was kind of tired of the movie before it even like appeared in theaters, just because of all the algorithms now, and because every website has a version of TikTok, and so you're scrolling through your apps and it's like, bam, you want to watch D&D. Bam, don't you want to watch D&D? Bam, here's the cast of D&D talking about D&D. And you're like, okay, cool, chill. I know I'm a fucking nerd. I know I'm a nerd. I'm sorry. But wait till we are a little closer to the movie actually coming out.
It's true. And it's also like the D&D nerds are going to see it. Though all of that effort should have gone somewhere else, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, from a marketing perspective. What do we know? We don't know shit.
We don't know
about marketing movies. But it seems wrong.
It's just like, I am going to watch the movie. Like, chill out. I don't need to like be endeared to the cast or have them talk a million times about, I don't know. I have interviews where like, I've never played D&D
were selling
before.
who the actors were.
Yes.
They were really excited. Like, we got Chris Pine. We got Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
We got Michelle Rodriguez. You're coming to see the movie, right?
I know.
And the truth is, yes. Yes, yeah.
That cast was so weird. Like,
it's so weird.
It's just a weird group of people. And it's like, they're all likable. And maybe that's what they were going for.
I think so.
But it's just a weird group of people to put together. Like Michelle Rodriguez, I don't have strong feelings about her. She was in Resident Evil and Fast and Furious, and like that's kind of where I know her from. But other than that, whatever. But I liked her.
Felt like a little bit. This kind of felt like the fan casting on Tumblr cast this movie. Like, these are all the names that would be like people would fan cast it, and then they actually did it.
It does kind of feel like people, that. It does kind of feel like a fan
like
cast.
Michelle Rodriguez doesn't get enough love in Hollywood and stuff, but everyone would put her in the fan casting of the D&D movie because she actually plays D&D and she's a badass. But she actually got in this movie is a prominent part. You know,
that's true. I feel like Vin Diesel should have been in the movie.
It was weird that he wasn't.
Yeah. He should have been.
I'm really glad he wasn't.
Yeah. Well,
no, he should have been an orc. He should have been like an orc that they killed.
Yeah.
He should have come in and be like, "Oh, how are you gonna get through here?" And Michelle Rodriguez cut off his head. Right?
If we get a sequel, Joe Manganiello or whatever's going to be in it too.
He should be in it. He has been the biggest advocate for this game out of any celebrity anywhere. You know.
Yeah.
But we'll go through the movie because honestly, there's just such cool, interesting parts, and the movie kind of plays like a quest. So there's like beat for beat to talk about. But overall, just what are your thoughts and opinions on the movie?
My thoughts and opinions are like that. I'm excited. I'm excited about the film. I like D&D a lot. I like playing D&D, but I'm confused, mainly because I understand from a D&D perspective, D&D themselves wanting to make a movie because it promotes their game and yada, yada, yada. But it's just so funny because it's such it's a brand that to me, I don't super care about because it's just a fantasy
vehicle.
It's a vehicle for your fantasy. So that way you can make up characters and places and things like that in the world. So you can play your characters in the world, but there's so much supplemental materials that it's created its own universe. So there's D&D characters, there's D&D locations, there's D&D things.
Yeah.
But it is
nobody cares about those.
Yeah, but no one should care about it because it is all a vehicle for your own imagination as DMs, as players, to make up stuff to put in there. So then why do I want to watch that?
Super correct.
Like I don't see D&D and I think, oh, I want to watch that movie necessarily. I see D&D, I'm like, cool, it could have been any fantasy movie.
Which is
any
why
fantasy brand.
It seems like hopefully they understand that why this is Dungeons and Dragons : Honor Amongst Thieves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if they now come out in 3 years, Dungeons and Dragons : Quest for Dragonlance. And it's a completely different kind of movie in a completely different sphere of D&D. And then it's Dungeons and Dragons : Rime of the Frost Maiden. And it's a completely different kind of adventure, you know, like, and it's a horror adventure. Like this is a comedy heist. And I think that was a great way to start. But like, I think you hit the nail on the head for this to like do what they wanted to do. They really need to embrace the fact that D&D is so many different things for different people, that it should be almost an anthology series, right? Like a Tales from the Crypt.
Agreed.
Or like something like that.
Shared cinematic universe of D&D stuff is super easy. This group will see in the background of the next movie, or we'll hear about this movie in the other movie because it's a shared world. Something like that. And then they'll all join up at the end and fight a big bad guy or something like that.
And do what they're supposed to do in the MCU, where everything's supposed to be different, not the same.
Exactly.
Marvel, the biggest thing that we've heard complaints about, and I think they're justified, is that's what they said they would do, and Marvel movies feel like Marvel movies now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say good or bad, but that they do.
I'll be honest, this movie felt like Fast and Furious for nerds. Like it didn't feel more complex or nuanced than that for me, at least.
No, it didn't.
That's not a bad thing, but that's how it felt.
I think that there's a lot of love. There was a lot of like directness. There was a lot of like inventiveness in this movie. There was there was a lot of family. There was a lot. Oh man. Oh god. Oh no. No. I take it back. The D&D movie. It starts off with our main characters in jail, which I love. But I will say this right off the bat. I thought the pacing of the movie was a little weird.
Okay.
Didn't you?
Weird in what way? Too fast? Too slow? Well, what about it?
It just felt disjointed. It didn't have a good flow from scene to scene. It felt like I wasn't completely engulfed in the movie. I liked the characters. I liked the situations. I liked the comedy. I liked the action. There wasn't anything I audibly or visually disliked about the movie. And yet I felt myself a little antsy as I was sitting there, as if there just wasn't a natural flow to the movie. Now, I don't know if it's because they were trying to go for a session by session kind of D&D thing. I don't know if it's just gone through so many iterations that it just didn't have that smoothness. I also thought the music was a little weird. Like I did the pacing of it, just like the flow. It kept me out of the movie instead of in the movie.
It felt like Fast and Furious. If you watch one of those movies, it feels like it's thing, then thing, then thing, then thing, then thing, then thing, then the movie's over. And it doesn't feel like the events are bleeding into each other in a very smooth way. It's like location. And you're like, okay, cool. I guess we're here. I guess we're here there. And that's how this movie felt too.
Which is funny because I suppose Lord of the Rings doesn't feel that way because even though they're from place to place to place to place, there's just a little bit of downtime in between.
Mhm.
There's more like investment in the traveling aspect of it, I
mean, they're
guess.
also running a lot. Like, there's a lot of shots of them just like running somewhere, walking somewhere, riding on horses and having
Yeah,
a
there's a sense
conversation
of urgency
there.
this movie doesn't have, huh?
Yeah.
This one felt like we had a lot of time
Mhm.
to do whatever we needed to do.
And also a questionable amount of time because you didn't know how long it took them to get places. It just kind of, they were there. And that's
Yeah.
okay. That's fine. But
I think it is a strength of the movie if you can't pull it off, like a Lord of the Rings movie or an Everything Everywhere All at Once movie, or like a movie that where the pacing is so spot on with whatever genre thing they're doing. I think if you can't nail it like that, I think doing it like they did in this movie is completely like justifiable and
Totally
fine
valid.
and like made the movie quick and breezy and nice and smooth. It's just there's just being an epic fantasy movie and being so funny and me like feeling so ingratiated to the characters.
yeah.
It's not that I wanted the movie longer, but I wanted more there that helped that flow, you know?
You,
Like, I don't know how Doric and Edgin feel about each other. I don't know
Yeah.
really how the sorcerer and the barbarian like interact too much. Like, that was missing a little bit.
you know what movie doesn't feel like that?
What?
Game night.
Game night is
like,
a perfect example
when they
of giving
go from
everyone their
location
due.
to location, they're having these conversations. You're getting to know the characters a little bit. They're like, it just feels natural, which is something that would happen in a D&D game. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
have like some downtime. What are you doing? Oh, I want to talk to this character. I want to talk to that character. So it's just interesting because it's not like this person, they can't do it. We saw them do it. Game night, I felt like
Yeah.
had great pacing. You ended up in a crazy scenario by the end of the film, but you didn't feel like, whoa, how'd we get there? You're like little small changes, you know, frog in a pot of water kind of thing. And then all of a sudden you're at this big crazy finale. Whereas
Yeah.
with the D&D movie, it just felt like, okay, we have to quickly hit these story beats.
It felt like that. It felt a little like, and I could be wrong about how they made this movie, but it felt like they were like, okay, what would we like to include in our D&D movie? And they didn't like break the story. They made the story fit pretty well with the set pieces they wanted to do and where they wanted to go and the jokes they wanted to make.
Yeah.
Right? It felt like they were probably like, let's have a speak with dead gag. Let's have a dragon. Let's have Coliseum fight. And then how do we fit all that together? Which again isn't a bad thing. It's not, I think it was lacking in this movie. It was the only thing that I was visibly like turning to Lexi. I'm like, movie's good. While I'm like bouncing like this, as opposed to like engrossed and not and just audibly gasping all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like this is definitely a movie that I'm like, oh, it was a fun movie. Great to go
Yes.
see in theaters. Like good summer movie. You could just like action packed fun time, but not a movie that I'm going to be like, oh, that was like a solid movie that I think you need to watch.
I am excited to watch it again because I think at the end of the day, I think it's the characters for me that like made it enjoyable. Everyone, it's like you said
Yeah.
about the people, they were all very likable, you know?
Yeah, I think the marketing did a lot to be like, these are actors that you like. These are good people. This is a good group of friends. You would want to play D&D with these people. I feel like a lot of the advertising was just like regular moments, like trying to make them seem like regular, everyday kind of people that you could also see at the table kind of thing, you know?
Totally agree.
And so that worked.
And it worked. It totally worked.
Yeah.
I think just to talk about him, Chris Pine's the kind of actor that's been around a long time. He's been in Star Trek. He's been in big movies all the time. And he's one of those people that everyone enjoys, but nobody writes home about. Gosh, I love me some Chris Pine. I think for me, he's right up there with the Ryan Reynolds and the Chris Pratts and the Downey Jr.'s. And as people are having conversations about all these leading men that are funny and witty and like charismatic and handsome, the Hemsworths and all that, I think Chris Pine's right up there. He does exactly I can't think of a single time in the movie where he doesn't do exactly what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
He is like pitch perfect. He knows what kind of movie he's in. He is serious but funny. He is serious but doesn't take it seriously. You know? And it crushed it. I mean, the fact that they made a D&D movie, and the main character is a guy as big as Chris Pine, and he is a bard. That is so funny.
Yeah.
They even make the joke in the movie where she's like, well, what do you do? I make plans. Yeah, but you already made the plans, so
Yeah.
can't you leave? And he's like, well, if those plans fail, I'll make more plans. So she's like, oh, so you make plans that fail. And he's like, no. And that sounds like the exact conversations we would have in our group with our bard, which is me.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because you had texted the group something very funny, and I'm going to put you on blast a little bit, because you had texted the group like, oh, like representation matters. And it's so important to see characters like yourself in Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, oh yeah, obviously, like, yeah, there's 2 minority characters. You don't see a lot of minorities in fantasy. Like, that's sick. You're absolutely right. I totally see what you're saying. Seeing people that look like you on screen, that's so important, especially in fantasy. This movie's doing such great things. And you were talking about the white man, Chris Pine.
One of the Chris's.
As a bard, playing in the same way that you play your bard character. And I was like, what world am I living in right now?
That's how I felt. He crushed it. I couldn't have asked for a better bard. I really couldn't have.
Oh God, I loved that. That was great.
Well, I just felt very pointy in the group, because every once in a while, just to put our group on blast, they don't like the way I play my bard. And like, it's fine. Sometimes we all have to flex our muscles with who we're playing with, and, you know, be cognizant of how everyone plays at the table. But like, sometimes I feel that way, and it's like, there's this mainstream movie with this mainstream person with these big budget things who are playing the bard exactly how I play my bard. So it was just very validating. But you're right. It's also wonderful how much diversity is in this movie. I mean, Michelle Rodriguez and Justice Smith are right up there, top billing with everyone else. And like,
definitely.
You mentioned Michelle Rodriguez. Gosh, she's so lovely.
Yeah,
she does exactly what she's supposed to do. She's funny when she's fun to be funny.
Does exactly what they're supposed to do. This felt like a Chris Pine as a movie. Like, everyone showed up. The movie itself showed up. It did what it needed to do, and it got out of there. And it was like, it didn't overstay its welcome, so that worked. So even if you didn't love it, it wasn't like super long or like in your face about it.
It went to
it moved. Great. It had, I don't want to say great pacing, but it didn't have great flow, but I think it had good pacing.
Yes. Yeah, it was hard because the movie was like a quick, tight movie, but like, you know, you want for more, you know, like it's like those little, but it tried to do that. I mean, it really tried to give the characters character beats. Like, and I really appreciate the movie didn't need to, movies don't feel like they need to do that, but that's what makes a good movie, right? Like, it was a little tropey Chris Pine's backstory, what it was, but like, they played it serious. The opening gag, how they told his backstory, very funny. I was laughing when he was telling the council his backstory, and he kept interrupting himself, wondering if, what was the character's name? Jonathan? Or
no, it was not Jonathan. It was like Jorbathan or something.
Jorbathan.
Jornathan?
Something like that, yeah. Which is such a that's such a D&D joke, right?
Yeah,
that is exactly how. It's exactly what we would like name a character in D&D and then make fun of. Jonathan. Yeah.
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Whatever it was. And it was a bird person, an Araraka or whatever it is. And he's telling his backstory. And then like Michelle Rodriguez, when you see her significant other, her ex, when you see the sorcerer's like inner turmoil with his ancestor, Forge, Hugh Grant's character, and his progression of how he got to where he is. The only one that I think we needed more from is Doric, the druid, because
I agree.
She was the coolest one, and we know the least about her.
Yeah,
she was just a tiefling who got adopted by elves.
She was cool and smart, and that's all we got.
She went on a date once with the sorcerer.
Yeah,
I hope they don't date. Like once at the end of the movie, they were like, "Oh, maybe I'll give you another date." I hope they just stay as strange exes. I think that's way funnier and way better than now that they're lovers, because they're dorks and they don't work together.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be interesting to see how that relationship develops.
I think so.
I'm glad Chris Pine did not end up dating Michelle Rodriguez or whatever. Like that was really good that they had a brother-sister relationship.
It was a great relationship. I loved it.
Yeah.
Again, Michelle Rodriguez, like, gosh, she's just one of those ladies who has just been in the business so long and just is a little taken advantage of because she's like, people are like, oh, you're like a badass woman in the background, or like,
Yeah.
but like as a Latina, as an action star, she has earned her brass to be co-lead with Chris Pine in a
Mhm.
movie, and it was just so cool to see because
Yeah.
she totally deserves it, like as a person, as a
Of course.
performer,
Yeah.
and she was so great in the movie. Like when she's kicking ass and Chris Pine's like trying not to die, it's very funny. They're the odd couple that totally works,
Mhm.
and you buy their love, and you buy the daughter's love for her and their relationship, and it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the end, you know what T's saying in the chat, you see that like their relationship was strong, and she's the only mother that Chris Pine's daughter ever knew. And it was nice. And it was just like
Yeah.
a beautiful thing to see.
And since you saw it coming a mile away, right?
Of course.
But if Michelle Rodriguez wasn't so sincere in her performance, it
Mhm.
wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
That's why it worked, because she was so great and so
Yeah.
sincere and so lovely and kicked so much ass.
I think that we had some problems with the flow of the film, but I will say
Yeah.
this, the jokes and the like relationship stuff, I think really landed. Like their dynamics were great and the comedy
Yeah.
was great, which is hard to land in a film.
The jokes were great, right?
Mhm.
The jokes
Yeah.
were very like legitimately funny.
Yeah.
Like maybe there was a moment of cringe or two, but like overall in the world, the jokes were, and something about the jokes that really stood out to me is they were confident jokes, similar to Game Night,
Mhm.
where the big one of the biggest one is the joke with the resurrect dead, right? So they
Yeah.
have to go to the field, they need to resurrect one of these dead people to find out the location of something, and it could just be a one joke where Chris Pine accidentally uses his questions, but they do it again and again and again. And then there's a meta joke underneath that where they have to go to different corpses to follow the helm as it passes hands. And Marcus, that's all one big joke, right?
Yeah.
But they pay so much time and attention and sets and money because they needed to make all those corpses, all those effects, and they had a whole flashback sequence of a whole warrior battle. You have to pay all those actors, you have to pay all the sets. They had to, and they did all that for the joke that the resurrect dead spell is stupid. And like it never goes, like in the movies you go to the person, you find out, you move on. This is how it
Yeah.
happens like in a D&D game. If you have like a clever DM, they would totally fuck with you like this,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and mess with you like that. And it's so funny, and they give it so much weight and importance because they know it's confident. They're confident, right, about the joke.
Yeah.
And that happens throughout the whole movie, and it's really nice to see.
Absolutely. I mean, just the fact that the movie starts off, you know, and they're in the jail cell and they're trying to get a leave, and they have a plan. Oh, Jonathan, and then Jonathan comes and they grab him and jump out the window.
That's
like,
the whole joke.
And then like that's hilarious. And the fact that like as they're jumping out the window, they say like you were pardoned. Like
Yeah.
they got the
We liked
pardon.
your story. Yeah.
That was so good. I was like dying laughing at that scene, and
Yes.
that was a great way to start the movie. Great way to like introduce you to like these are the kind of characters we have at play. These are the kind of people. This is the kind of story we're going to tell, and this is the kind of fun we're going to have.
Yeah, I love it. I loved the humor, and loved the humor. Like I love that it was a comedy. It's like you said, there's so much room in the D&D brand to not have comedy, but like the comedy in this film really freaking worked. And I loved the Paladin. The Paladin was so funny to me because Paladins are so sanctimonious and they're so stick up their butts about everything. And Renee Jean played that exactly how you would as a Paladin. And then in the interviews too, he would talk about like, yeah, that's how Paladins are. So that's why I played it that way. And I was like, wow, they were so respectful of like what this game is.
Yeah.
Oh, big complaint. He shouldn't have left the group. I loved his energy.
I
loved
agree.
his dynamic.
It was kind of weird that he left the group.
He should have just stayed.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just a writing thing because he was too OP. But I love that he was OP.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah. But if he stayed with the group, they would have been able to solve the problems faster, probably.
Maybe.
Or just fight the jaguar that's in the maze.
Yeah, that's true. So to talk about, it'd be a waste to not talk about like the amazing set pieces and action pieces of this movie, like how it all played out. Like, so, you know, once we meet all our, oh, you know what? I just realized that this movie does the stupid thing that I see in movies that I usually hate, and I did not mind to hear, where it's the gathering of the group one by one, getting them all together, right? Like usually I'm really annoyed at that, where it's like it's almost like they'll go meet the person. It's like, we need to meet our bombs expert. And
You're
he's the bomb
annoyed by
expert.
that? You love heist films.
I like, you know what? You're right. I do like that a lot. But I'm specifically thinking of one movie where it was done really badly.
Which one?
Actually, I think Justice Smith was in that movie. Kong Skull Island, 2017 film. It did that with its characters, and it was one of the cringiest, worst things I've ever seen. I hated it so much. It was Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, and the way they gathered the group was like the worst ever. So anytime I think of it, I think of that because it was so bad. But you're right, I do usually like it.
Yeah.
I liked it in this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like this movie was a heist movie, right? Like it followed
really
similar
was.
structure.
It played with it though because there was magic involved.
Yeah, of course.
Which was just enough of a difference to make it different and fun. But then the whole conceit is, I think that again, I think if you were talking negatives of the movie, I guess this would be one of them. It is a fetch quest. They have to get this thing, to get this thing, to get the helm, to get the thing, to get the stuff, to get the thing, right?
Yeah.
And we have to one by one get all those things. But the journey to get there was great. So, the whole Underdark fight with all the people that the paladin killed, and then the dragon. Oh my god. I love Chubby Dragon.
Yeah.
Chubby Dragon was
Chubby
adorable.
Dragon. It was pretty good. I like the portal gun thing.
So good.
That was fun. There were a lot of like little creative things that I liked.
The reason why I think you can tell this movie was written well is because that portal gun paid off multiple times.
Yeah.
Like they were like, you have this crazy thing, and then they explain it, and it could have felt like a Deus Ex Machina to get out of that situation, but they were like, no, we still have this. And I think my favorite scene of the whole movie was the heist into the carriage that they use the portal gun on the painting, and as they're like, the druid like comes from this world into that world into the portal, and to get all that was my favorite part of the film. It was just so well done. It was so kinetic. It was so funny. I loved it.
Yeah. I think visually too, this movie was stunning. I think there was a lot of like interesting visual effects happening. I think there was a lot of like cool things, and it felt like you always had stuff to look at on screen that was visually interesting in some way.
And a lot of practical effects.
Yeah, a lot of practical effects, which is like, I mean, that's huge. Practical effects, I feel like, look better.
Yeah, like I don't have any complaints about the CGI, like the Displacer Beast or the Mimic or the things that obviously are going to be CGI. I thought they were all fine. They're all good. I have no complaints. The statue that came alive, the dragon statue. But like the moments of practical effects when they could do them, like the Jornathan or whatever from the beginning, and like, I mean, we started this movie and we saw a dragonborn sitting on that council, a full-on half dragon, half person just sitting there, and it was just a part of the back. It didn't need to be. They could have cut a corner. It could have just been a human. He wasn't in almost any of the movie. He wasn't important. He didn't need to be a dragonborn. But if this was the D&D world, there would be a dragonborn on that council.
Yeah.
So he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And throughout the movie, except, I will say, tieflings are supposed to look like demons, and Doric does not look like a demon. Doric looks like she has some cute little horns, and that's it. I don't know if they thought they couldn't. I don't know if they made her a tiefling for a story reason we didn't get to. I don't know if they were scared to make her purple and look like a demon because they thought they wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, T, she had a tail, but when did that tail come into play, or it was important, right? Like, it was barely there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, tieflings don't look like that. Tieflings look like demon people, and they didn't do that.
I kind of get that.
Do you? Explain to me why. Like, I just don't understand why.
Because I don't know, it doesn't matter. I feel like it's fantasy. I think that's the part of D&D.
No, you won that argument.
Like...
Wow. No. You don't have to explain anymore. I lost that argument.
I get what you're saying. It's weird. You have the D&D branding on it, right? Which I think goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier, where it's like, it is just a place for you to do a make 'em up in. And is the movie going to be beholden to the world of D&D, or is it going to do a make 'em up, and you're in this weird kind of middle spot where...
That's the thing, though. It wasn't in the middle spot. It honored the source material incredibly so, to the point where the way they talk to each other with the sending stones, the walkie-talkies they made, literally, if I opened up the D&D book right now, I don't know where my player's handbook is.
Yeah.
But if I opened it, I think it's in my DMG. If I open it up, literally, if I go to the Sending Stones page, it looks exactly how they look in the movie. Like, no joke, exactly the same. That's how they looked in the movie. This film was incredibly faithful in so many aspects.
Is there a portal gun in the D&D?
No, but there is an arcane gate that acts like it. The wand lets you cast that spell. That's what I'm saying. It was very, like, I don't know D&D that well lore wise because there's just so much of it, and who's got the freaking time for all that? But like, there's so much in the movie. Like, there's a couple things that they change just because, like, Doric, her ability to wild shape that many times, nobody can do that.
Yeah.
And technically they can't turn into an owl bear, but like that feels like rule of cool stuff for me, right? Yeah. But like,
could she don't know why be a half elf tiefling that we don't know about? They
actively said she wasn't. She was adopted by the elves.
Yeah, but if she was adopted, she doesn't know what she was originally.
Tieflings are already half. I guess so. You're right. You're right. Her great grandpa could be a demon, not her father. That's totally true.
Yeah,
100%. Yes. You know what? Yes. Egg on my face. You're right. Okay. I'm just saying. It just seems weird that they didn't go full send for that part of it, which is fine. I just think it would have been cool if we had a purple main character.
You know what? It probably wouldn't have pulled well in the Midwest.
Yeah, but they gave her red hair. I'm sure that doesn't pull well in like Florida or something.
That's gonna pull better than a demon running around on screen, I think.
Oh, I was just thinking purple skin, but you're right. If it looked too demon, the satanic
it's just
panic
a demon
of it
running
all.
Around, yeah.
You're right. I think if they have a sequel, they can give her like a Trigon with Raven like origin, and her daddy or her mama wants to come and like torment the world or something. Honestly, that'd be kind of dope.
Maybe are tieflings. I don't understand tieflings. Are they demons? What's the deal?
It's the same like a Dragonborn. It's just half demon, half person, half elf.
Okay,
they're just like a oh gosh, I forgot what they're called. What is Grog from Critical Role called?
I thought he was a giant.
He's a Goliath. He's a Goliath. So it's he's half giant, half person.
Can you be half Arakocra, and half human?
In present D&D, they have been very open and inclusive in their wording, so you can start making stuff up like that. But there isn't a class that already exists that has giant blood in your background in human blood.
Okay, cool.
But like, that's just where tieflings come from. Yeah, from either other tieflings or from demon human hybrid people.
Who's keeping track of D&D lore? Who's out there keeping track of D&D lore? Like, why? Again, why does this have to be set in the D&D universe? I mean, I guess it's to sell toys, is the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, you sell toys, the game, you sell your source books, you sell books, you sell, all that stuff. I'm sure there's somebody's job I know for a fact that's somebody's job in comic book land in Marvel and DC. That is a job. I've watched interviews with those people. So I assume the same person exists for D&D about all the lore. But also the people who make D&D, they're freaking nerds, dude. They're like they do know this stuff. They will be able to tell you the 6 goblin gods, where they come from, what land they're a part of, and like how they have interacted over the last 3,000 years.
Yeah.
But that stuff's not important to us. But yeah, and then there's the Coliseum fight, which is great. We get to see the old D&D cartoon characters brought to real life. We get to see a mimic and a displacer beast, a gelatinous cube. It just felt kinetic. It felt smooth. It felt great. One of my favorite scenes though was definitely the druid trying to invade the area as a fly and then getting away. That felt like something that can happen in a D&D game.
That was really cool. I like that a lot.
And it looked visually, and the payoff of the joke for the deer.
Yeah.
Great payoff.
It was a good payoff. It was a good joke setup. It was cool visually too, seeing the chase happen.
They tried to make it look like one shot. It felt great.
I do think also, again, to your point of like it not being like D&D accurate, it's cool. It's fun.
Yeah.
So you can turn into a million animals a day. That's fine. Whatever.
Well, literally, you just she must have done it 5 times, because on the character sheet that you just played, it says she can do it 5 times. Instead of the 2 that you normally can, right? So it just, that's great. That's how many times she can do it.
Yeah.
And oh my god, I love owl bears. it's my favorite D&D like creature. I have multiple
Oh,
minis of
heck
owlbears. I
yeah.
have Lexi's gotten me all these mini baby owlbear
Oh,
minis.
that's cute.
I have an owlbear stuffed animal in the other room.
Oh,
Owlbears
wow.
are my favorite. I kickstarted that too. It was
Wow.
very, very rare. But owlbears are my favorite D&D creature, and the fact that we got it in a movie is so cool, so clutch, so happy about it.
It was
I
really cool
don't
to
know
watch.
why I love owlbears. They're just so specific to D&D.
Yeah.
They don't
You also
exist
like
anywhere
bears.
else. I guess I also like bears.
So
a
it
lot.
is just a cooler bear.
It's just a D&D bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
I
sense.
also have tons of bear stuff right here
Yeah.
in my
Yep.
setup.
There
too,
you go. Yep.
so.
There it is.
And
It's
I got-
D&D specific
And I got a
bears.
D&D bear over here from
Oh, that's
Critical
cute.
Role.
I like that a lot.
It's got the armor on. I think that's all my bear stuff.
Do you think there's
yeah.
a world where they take the D&D movies and then they make like a Critical Role live action film? Not with the people in it as the characters, but just
Because they're getting older. I think we're the closest we've ever been. The Amazon show, you haven't watched the second season? My God, Marcus, listen, I'll be honest. That first season, great season of television. Loved it. Your biggest complaint, I remember when we did the reviews, like you said, it felt like you're a little out of the loop because it felt like you didn't watch it. And it felt like that a little bit, you know? Not so much you couldn't watch it. The second season didn't feel like that. It was Lexi, who has not watched any of it, doesn't know anything about D&D. She loved that second season.
wow,
The pacing, the
that's
flow,
great.
getting their backstories, the calamity of it all, like felt worthwhile. And now, after the success of that season, they just sold their next campaign, Mighty Nine.
I heard.
And not like a rumor, Amazon bought it. They are making the Mighty Nine cartoon as well as the third season of Critical Role.
Wow.
And I don't know if they have already bought a season 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But the way the story is going, there's gonna be a season 4 because they're already setting stuff up, or at least 4, maybe 5. And like, if we get 5 seasons of an animated show and they animate their next campaign, and if they animate the campaign after that,
movie,
it has to come down the pike eventually, right?
Yeah.
God, it would be cool.
I watched the first 3 episodes of the second season. I thought it was boring, so I stopped watching.
What?
But I
No
will
way.
keep watching.
Bam! You really thought that?
Yeah.
Come on.
But I will try to
Whoa.
keep watching. It just feels like I'm
What?
forcing myself to do it.
What happened in the? Let's see. Episode. Oh, sure. Yeah. The first 3 are a little bit of them setting up what's going to happen in the season, right?
Yeah.
It's the dragons attack, everything's bad, and then they go to a random place and the person said you got to go get these things.
Yeah.
It's very fetch
Yeah,
questy.
it was boring. And I was like, cool, awesome.
Listen,
I'm not invested in this at all.
You might not like the rest, but I will say, trying to be unbiased, the next parts of the show are them going to get those things.
Yeah.
And every time they go to get something, something's happening in that place that's specific to one of them. So like when Matt Mercer crafted the story, he didn't just have them go get random things.
Yeah.
When they went there, like, for example, not to spoil too much, they have to get the Titan Stone Knuckles. They're owned by Grog's uncle.
Yeah.
Who tried to kill him and pull him out of the clan, right?
Yeah.
So like it's like big stakes are involved and it's cool stuff.
Here's my biggest problem with all of this stuff. It feels like I am listening to my friend tell me about their D&D campaign, which is cool and awesome. And I listen because they're my friend. But I don't know these
Sure.
people. They're not my friends. So I don't care about their D&D campaign.
That's
So it's like watching them play D&D, including all the boring parts. And those parts are skipped when you tell me about your D&D games or
Sure.
other people tell me about their D&D games. So it's kind of, I don't know, there's just like that lack of connection for me in all of this content. And for this movie, I felt like, oh, this is just a fun, cool story that I'm enjoying, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, there could have been them finding out their fetch quest in this film was very quick.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, great, we need the helm. Let's go get it.
Yeah. That
you
was
know,
it.
and it was just in connection, like they needed Justice Smith's character, and they were like, cool, Justice, how do we do this? Well, we could get the helm, but it's probably impossible to get. They're like, nah, let's go get it. Cool. And then it's going. Whereas a TV show or anything else feels like it should explain why,
Yeah.
why we have to get those things and where those things came from, because there's a lore involved and they're fantasy things, you know what I mean? So I totally hear you, but I will say by the end I was freaking jumping off the wall with how much I loved it. But if it's not your thing, you're just a loser and you can't be involved. Like, what can I say?
You know what? That's probably not what it is. That's probably not what it is.
No, that's the only thing I can think of. Like, out of all the things in the world, you not liking this singular show that me and T and Lexi like, I'm pretty sure that just makes you a loser and weird.
That's fair.
Right? That's how it works, right?
Yeah. I'm an outcast.
No, not everything can't be everyone's cup of tea. But I would say maybe give it one more shot getting past the initial start of the season.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not really watching, but occasionally we're watching Dimension 20 and making our way through that. Yeah. I would not watch a TV show of that. You know what I mean? And I don't know necessarily, I haven't watched all of Critical Role, so I don't know if it's the same kind of deal, but I like it and it's interesting and I want to keep trying to watch it for sure.
Marcus, I'm so far behind in Critical Role. I am getting to the age already now where I'm like, watching live play campaigns is a young man's game.
Honestly, I feel like the market is like oversaturated. Everyone's doing it. Everyone has one. And I'm sure they're all like cheap. Mildly interesting. But like the fact that you have these like really top tier people with 4 hours a week of content that you have to trudge through. And then all these people trying to compete with those 4 hours. It's like there's just too much. They have dominated the market in a way and people's time in such an interesting way that doesn't leave a lot of room for people to make their way in there. It's exhausting to follow all this content.
I agree. The D&D fandom is a very specific one because it feels so, you almost feel guilty for not watching everything. Like, I haven't watched almost any Dimension 20, but I know it's amazing. I know, and it's also, I watch College Humor stuff. Like, I'm a fan of these people. Independently. I just ain't got time.
No, agreed.
That's all it is. That's all it is. But it's all great. And which is why I like the fact that the animated show is there, because it definitely is more digestible. But you're not the only one that's not watching it and that wasn't too into it, A
great way to introduce people to stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, to talk about the movie, just to wrap it up here, I think the way the movie all wraps up feels earned. It feels right. Using the resurrection on Olga feels great. The connection, the final fight, as far as final fights go, feels pretty good. They're all finally working together. It's a very tropey like ending. I will say the one thing that I felt a little like, I feel like this was a solid B, but you could have gotten an A movie, is the way they used the portal gun to use the money to make the people leave the Coliseum for them not all to die. It felt a little easy for me. It just felt a little easy. Everything else seemed like it took so much work and heart and luck. And that one was just like, we're just going to put a portal here.
That one just worked.
Put it here. It just worked. But it was like, how else were they going to get all of these people out of the thing to justify it? I don't know. I think let them all turn into zombies. Completely destroy Neverwinter. Let Neverwinter completely be destroyed. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let all of these people be turned into zombies. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm interested to see where the franchise goes, because I wouldn't mind a sequel with these characters. I think the movie probably did well enough to do that and justify it. But I also wouldn't mind just completely different characters.
It's so crazy. They can do so much stuff. If it's traditional Hollywood, we just get a sequel. If they're being a little daring, they'll just take Doric and go follow her on an adventure. And if they're super duper daring and understand what they have, they will make a completely different Dungeons and Dragons movie, and we will get a sequel to this one in 3 more films.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like later. But who knows? I sure don't. But Marcus, what do you think a sequel could be?
That's not following these people, or that follows them? A sequel that follows them, I think, has to definitely stay away from like his daughter, Chris Pine's daughter, being kidnapped or whatever. I feel like some kind of maybe focusing on Michelle Rodriguez and her ex, and something there
Her
happens.
ex-tribe that she got left behind from,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Maybe some get incorporate people's backstories. Maybe Doric's family, her tiefling family, comes into play in some
Yeah.
capacity.
Or maybe the Paladins,
Mm-hmm.
his backstory.
Mhm.
He that's how he gets back in the movie, right? He
Yeah.
brings them to come help him because he helped them
Yeah,
do
and
something.
what's his face? Justice Smith was.
Yeah.
He was a sorcerer, right? He wasn't a wizard.
Yeah, he's from a bloodline of sorcerers, yeah.
So does that mean that he has like some kind of god pact that he's made?
That's a warlock. That's a warlock.
Warlock. Oh, okay.
You're thinking warlock.
Got it.
Sorcerers have magic from their bloodlines.
Got it.
Wizards
Okay.
study it. Sorcerers are born with it. Warlocks make a pact.
Got it. Okay.
But I think your point is obviously a sequel is one of the. This was Edgin's story. It's someone else's story, and we follow
Exactly.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it totally
Yeah.
works. You can do it for
Yeah.
each one, honestly,
Definitely.
and it would kind of be great.
Mm-hmm.
Truly. And then if they make a different, like what. I know you might not know all the D&D properties as much as some of these freaking nerds out here, but like, what next D&D movie would you want to see? Would you want to see a horror movie? Would you want to see?
It's interesting
I don't know.
that you say this, because I feel like the opposite of I do with comic books. With comic books, I feel like there's a lot of genres within comic books, and movies have kind of made them into like a genre in itself. And that's
Yeah.
not how when I read a comic book, that's not how it works. With D&D, every D&D game I've been a part of has been the same or similar. Or yes, there might be spooky elements. There might be like a spooky thing, but it's just an adventuring group going on adventures together, having fun.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that for this franchise, add more serious elements, add this stuff, but don't lose the humor and the comedy, because I think that's the fun part of this whole thing. I think D&D
I
should
think
just
you're
be a
right.
fun franchise.
Yeah, like, listen, I think if I had to tell them what to do next, I think you do Curse of Strahd. It's D&D's most popular module. It's one of the most well-known properties. There's so much room. There's such rich backstory and characters that are there to pull from. But it's literally these characters fucking up in that world, trying to fight and save the world against the vampire that's seriously trying to kill them all. 100%.
Yeah.
I think you're totally right. I think they nailed the formula. I think they were like, I think this is it, and I think it's it.
Yeah,
You know, there's
I
things to
agree.
improve upon, of course, but like, I want to see more movies like this that are
Yeah.
fun adventuring parties, but in different settings, in different stakes, in different, avenues, right?
Yeah.
Fighting Doric's parents, fighting the people, trying to free Barovia of the reign of Strahd, trying to trying to stop Tiamat from
Mhm.
being resurrected, right?
That would be fun.
Stopping, I don't even know what all the modules. There's Storm King's Thunder. There's Elemental Eye Rain.
A million modules for
Yes.
them to do. I think
to pull from.
they have so much to delve into, and that's kind of exciting, but I don't want them to lose any of the fun aspects of it.
All right, Marcus, anything else you want to talk about for the D&D movie?
No, I think all the actors did a great job. I loved watching them. I loved how fun it was, and seemed like they had a lot of fun filming it. And that's it.
Awesome. Marcus, did you like the D&D movie?
I did. I liked it.
Hell yeah. Samesies. Would you recommend the D&D movie?
I would definitely recommend the D&D movie. I think it's a good, fun time. I don't know if everyone's going to like it. I might recommend it to my mom, but that's kind of
It's an easy film, though.
Some moms are on
right?
the fence. Yeah.
But it's an
just
easy film, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And maybe it'll give them a little taste of like, oh, that's the D&D thing. And you're like, yeah. And they're like, cool. Not for me,
Yeah.
but cool.
Yeah.
And that's like enough of a takeaway.
There are certain parents, I think, that I could see being like, oh, this is a dumb movie. But I also do think it's an enjoyable watch for most people.
And lastly, will you be watching the next movie if and when it comes out?
Yeah, definitely. I'll give the next movie a shot.
Yeah. Future. Oh, well, here we go. In February 2022, a spin-off TV series was announced to be in development. A part of a multi-pronged approach for television projects, the show is described as the flagship cornerstone to the live-action series of multiple projects, while the series will complement the film's side of the franchise. I assume similar to what Marvel is doing in their world.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind that. If we had a show that followed Dork and then a show that followed Justice for 6 episodes, and then all go, and then they come back together for a big movie for another thing in 2 summers.
Actually, that's a great way of doing it.
That would be really good.
Like an insular cinematic universe where it's like, yes, it's a shared universe, but like people from the core team are getting little TV shows, not everybody and their grandma.
I will say that that's my only gripe with the MCU and with Star Wars. It feels like we're getting farther and farther away from what we love. And I heard Andor's one of the best Star Wars thing to ever come out. I have no reason to watch it. Who the fuck's Andor? And I will get to it someday. And I'm sure it's great, but like, it's not an Iron Man TV show.
Yeah.
It's not a Luke TV show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like even The Mandalorian was a stretch.
Yeah, I watched one episode and it was great. But with Marvel, at least those characters
I heard
are
it's
like,
fantastic.
they're going to be in the movie. You know, I can't miss it because they're going to be in the movies. With Star Wars, it's like he's dead.
At the end, he's going to die. We know they're all dead. We know the future.
So I don't care why. Like, it's about the investment too.
That's why I'm really excited about that. What is it? Acolyte, which is like pre-High Republic Star Wars. It's like thousands and thousands of years ago. That sounds pretty cool because we only know whispers of some of those characters. We don't know how it all came to be, and that could be cool.
I'm excited for Ahsoka, like pretty hard, because
really,
I love Dave Filoni. I think he saved Star Wars. Like that's my like very maybe controversial opinion.
I love Ahsoka in the show, but like, do I need Rosario Dawson putting on this pink
I don't give a shit about her
tentacle wig? She's Ahsoka.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Ahsoka's beyond her. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't.
I am excited for it because like Star Wars Rebels, all those guys are gonna come into the show. Like they showed Sabine, they showed all these characters, and I'm like kind of hyped.
Gonna be cool.
I don't know, but I want to see them and give it a chance.
All right.
You know,
well. Maybe I'll get to them someday. Lexi and I are watching Mandalorian very slowly, so it's our first Star Wars thing ever. No, the beginning of Mandalorian.
Oh,
we're like
so you're season
episode
1?
like 5.
Yo, season 1 sucks.
Well, it's making Lexi watch it.
Okay,
I think it's fine. It's just more episodic than I think we would have wanted it to be. It just
season 2 is much better. So the first episode of season 1 I think is great. Last episode of season 1 I think is great. Season 2 is great, and then I haven't watched season 3 yet.
All right. Well, Marcus, if you feel so inclined, like one of our fans, to follow us, you could at Now Try This Cast on all socials. You could leave us a podcast review on Spotify or iTunes. We would love some reviews over there because they help bring traffic to the show, get more fans, get more people talking. And if you really want to support us, you go to patreon.com/NowTryThisCast, where you can vote and submit suggestions on what we do, join our Discord. And if you can't do any of that, we just love that you listen. We appreciate you. Good night.
Good night, guys. Remember, Patreon, you can still vote if you're listening right now, if you're live and you haven't voted already. We don't know what our next challenge is going to be, so stay on our social medias. Take a look at those, and you'll find out when we find out.
Spoilers right now, John Wick Chapter 4 is winning.
So if you don't want us to watch John Wick Chapter 4, head over to the Patreon.
You can fix it right now.
You can change that.
And hell, you can sign up for Patreon again and again and again, like some people have, to vote multiple times to make sure that your thing, hey, you want us to watch Schwarzenegger's True Lies, you can make it happen with your dollars.
I love the Patreon so much because so many people come up to me, and I'm sure you have this too, where they're like, oh, you should do this. And I'm like, we have a Patreon, go submit it. And then when they realize they have to pay money, they're like, And then you see if they're how true their convictions
and you see if they're
are.
actually going to listen. Listen, people tell us things to do. And I'm like, do you listen?
Yeah.
Do you care what we do? And they're like, oh, well, you know, I've been busy and like, sure, that's fine. But like, why am I going to do your thing if you're not listening?
Exactly.
To the thing?
Exactly.
Give us your money.
Give us your money.
Because we love you.
We love you and we'll do your thing. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We love you. Remember to go out there and try some things. Good night.
Good night.
Friends get together so they can try things. How about it? It's podcast so that you can try things. Now we will stop singing so that we can all now try this.
I think the easiest way to like really get into talking about is Marcus, who was your favorite character in this movie?
My favorite character from who I liked the most, I would say the fat dragon.
Great. Out of the main cast of characters who have top billing on this movie, who would be, you say, your favorite amongst those thieves?
The druid.
Well, let's find out how you run her, because we're going to play a game. Roll the clip.
Now try this trivia. Now try this trivia. Now trivia. Now trivia. Now trivia this.
Well, Marcus, I thought that the best way to find out how easy and or hard it is to play this game would be to play the game a little bit ourselves. Marcus, to make that fair, I am not going to do anything except play with you, because we're pulling in the professional DM, Tizon Pope, to run us through, to run us through this game. The way this is going to work is I have here, we're very lucky. Wizards of the Coast released character sheets for the people, for the characters, for the people in the show or in the movie. So you will be able to be Doric, the tiefling druid, here while we play.
Okay, that's awesome.
And I would have picked Doric, you son of a gun, because she's the most powerful person, but I cannot now. So should I pick the paladin, the bard?
You gotta pick the bard. Come on, you're a bard boy.
He can do the least amount of things, though.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He can attack with his loot, dude.
That's what you gotta do. What's his charisma at?
It's 18.
Okay,
Yeah, but if it's on charisma, Hugh Grant's charisma is 20.
Oh, come on. That's insane.
Take it away, T. I'm done talking.
Well, first thing I would like to thank you for inviting me on something that isn't as depressing as Grave of the Fireflies. So I appreciate that.
Introduce yourself, T.
My name is Tizon Vanclief. You can find me on all socials at Tizon Vanclief. That's TizomVanclief. I am a dungeon master, a writer. I have a YouTube channel. I'm a foodie. I do a little bit of everything, and I'm a little bit camera shy, so I'm probably not going to look at the camera. But I have been playing D&D for, 8 years now, I think?
Wow.
And now I'm going to run a quick session for you that I wrote in about 15 minutes today.
Let's go. I am ready.
Yeah, let's call out Nick for asking you today. Yes.
That is fair to do.
Okay, so you are playing Doric and Edgin, right?
That's right.
Edgin, that's his name?
That's right.
Okay, so
handsome, loving bard. Yeah.
So you are in the Colosseum, and you look to see the Red Wizard, Safina, enraged by defeat, the souls of the Colosseum stolen from her. Consumed by hatred, she screams in agony as veins of black necrotic energy spill forth from her. An ominous black door appears in the center of the arena, opening beneath your companions as they fall to the depths.
No!
You rush over.
And probably my daughter.
Probably. You rush over and you see just the void. What do you do?
I jump in the void.
No, don't jump in the void. And I turn to Hawk and fly after him to try to stop him. But like a big hawk, if I could turn into one.
Well, maybe like an eagle?
An eagle.
Sure. Edgin, you jump in, and your sense of direction wanes as you fall into the cold darkness. Doric, you jump into the air. Your limbs turn into wings as you fly down, and just as you are about to catch Edgin, he disappears. So you continue flying on until you hear a large crack as Edgin reaches the bottom of the chasm. You find him lying on a pile of decaying bones, and he takes...
it's okay. The bones broke my fall.
6 points of fall damage.
Oh, I gotta keep track of this. Okay.
Before you is a room of dim light. You see a massive stone and wooden door, but your friends are nowhere to be seen. What do you do?
Doric, you know magic stuff. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I totally know magic stuff. Hold on, let me... Whoop! That's how I do magic. That's my magic noise. That was from the film. What spells do I have? Just casting
Says it
following
on
spells
your
using
thing.
wisdom. Animal messenger, beast sense, speak with animals. Those are bad spells. That's all I got.
You also have cure wounds, entangle, fairy fire, and thunderwave.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I can see only the door. I do a perception check to see if I can see around.
Make a perception check.
I also get up from the bones and look around me.
Make a perception check.
Oh yeah. 13 for Edgin. There's bone dust in my eyes.
Edgin, you see a door.
Yeah, hell yeah, I do.
Nice. I got a 7.
You both see a door in front of you. In the distance, though, you do hear the yell of your companions.
What?
Does it sound like it's coming from behind the door?
Sound like it's coming from behind the door, and then momentarily, a second later, you hear movement to your left. And you hear the rattling of metal.
I shoot a slingshot at. I don't shoot the slingshot, but I shoot it in the direction of the sound. I guess I turn back into a human. I guess I'll turn back into a human.
Make an attack. Attack roll as a disadvantage.
I pull out my loot, my reinforced loot.
Ooh, I got a nat 20 on one and an 11 on the other.
You miss. You hit nothing but a wall. You hear something move swiftly. Make a dexterity save.
Oh no. I rolled a
15.
6. We're gonna kill these movie characters.
Doric, you hear movement to the left. You shoot in that direction. You hit nothing. And then you hear movement. And right as you hear that sound, you shift slightly to the right and you see a claw, a bone claw, just barely miss you. You see a creature emerge. It's covered in chains and keys. Its lithe, emaciated body is long dead. Its ghastly eyes are staring directly at you. Roll for initiative.
Oh no.
18.
6.
Edgin, you are up first.
I approach the skeleton hurriedly with my loot over my head, screaming, "Give me back my daughter, you pile of bones!" And I attack with my reinforced loot, which is somehow stronger than a sword.
Make an attack roll.
Great, I get 2 attacks. My first attack, I rolled an 18.
That hits.
My second attack, I rolled a 17.
That also hits.
Great. You know what I've realized? Is these characters are kind of OP.
Yeah.
Because I get to roll a D8 and 2 D10s. So I will do that. For both of these attacks. So 40 damage in total from my loot. For some reason, it does bludgeoning damage plus thunder damage.
Weird. I wonder if there's a secret we don't know about from the film.
Maybe, because I don't remember him actually doing any kind of magic
No,
that we visibly, that's all.
He did it. Well, he also has like charm person and suggestion and friends and message, which like makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's just him doing. But his loot, I think just so what I imagine is when I come over and hit you with the strings go and it vibrates the bones. Ooh.
It vibrates the bones and you see the dust of an ancient skeleton fall off. And then he reacts with 2 claw attacks at you.
Ooh.
20 to hit.
That hits.
The second is a 17 to hit.
That also hits. I wear leather armor. I'm just a dude. That's the one place that they did not beef these guys up.
It is 15 points of necrotic damage total. And if you could also make a constitution save.
Well, it would have been real good if we picked the cleric.
There isn't a cleric.
What's the John Baptiste guy? What's that? The guy from...
He's a paladin.
Paladin.
I honestly, I would have picked him, but his thing seemed complicated. Cool. I rolled a 6. Am I dead?
You failed. No, you do not fail. You do not die, but your max HP is reduced by the amount of damage you just took. So your max HP is reduced by 15.
Okay.
And Doric, you're up.
I say, we got to get out of here. And I run towards the door to try to open it. But also, while I'm running, look back and shoot a slingshot at the enemy.
Make an attack.
I rolled a 14.
You're this super powerful person and you shot a rock at the guy?
Yep, that's what I'm choosing to do, baby.
14 just misses.
Okay, well, what about the door? Did it open?
I make
from approaching
an
it?
investigation check.
No, I said I try to open the door and take a shot while I'm running.
Make an investigation check.
Sounds sus to me.
Look, if we were sitting here playing a for real game, look, maybe I couldn't get away with this, okay? But this is a sped up speed run podcast version. I got an 8.
The door's
roll
locked.
We're gonna just die. It's gonna take.
And Edgar, you're up.
I run away from the bones and I try to say, Dork, move out of the way. And I cast suggestion on the door, asking it to open.
Okay. It does not open.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And since you run away, you're going to see it raise both of his arms and stick them out in front of them. And you just see this black energy gestate around the arms and limbs and shoot from its hands. And as it does a grave bolt, and it is going to attack you.
That sounds
with 2
bad.
rays, which is a 18 to hit
That hits.
and 16 to hit.
That also hits.
Okay.
Don't kill Chris Pine. He's everyone's favorite. He's how the soccer moms are into this movie. He's important.
Yep. He's the everyman.
26 necrotic damage.
Okay.
Doric, you're up.
I use Fairy Rebuke. And I
You use what?
Fiery
Fiery.
Rebuke.
Fiery.
Sorry.
It's fiery.
Fiery Rebuke.
Okay.
Very.
So that is a dex save.
Yeah, 15.
That is a 3 on the die.
Yeah, let's go. So 3d10 fire damage. So 26 damage.
Wow, it's almost max damage. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You got that plot armor.
Mm-hmm.
That good
Let's
plot
go.
armor.
Okay, so you turn around and you use this fiery rebuke, and it is engulfed in this greenish flame. And you see the strips of leather that are wrapped around its body catch on fire, and one of the limbs falls off. It is looking very damaged, but it's still up. Edgin, you're up.
I take my stance and I look at the pile of bones and I say, look, you overzealous coffin keeper thing. I'm not as quick as Chris Pine is. And I magically taunt him with disorienting words and I say, are we over here? Am I over here? Bones, I'll get my dog on you. And I make a wisdom saving throw.
That is a natural 1.
Wow.
You take 14 psychic damage and have disadvantage on your next attack.
Hell yeah.
I imagine he just feels bad about himself now. So
Okay, it is going to lunge at Doric since it was the last one that it saw physical to attack from. At disadvantage is a natural 20 and a natural 1.
so trying to kill Chris Pine.
Nice.
Second attack is a 5 and a 13.
Fits.
So
voices.
a 5. Okay, Doric, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to take 2 slaying shot attacks at the enemy. First one, 24. Does that hit?
Hits.
Bam! It takes 7 damage. Next one, 15. Does that hit?
Just hits.
Bam! 6 damage. Blam, 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 blam.
In character. Nice.
You hit it with your sling attacks, and it catches on one of the strips of leather that are already on fire from your fire rebuke, and hits it directly in the neck. The head falls off, and the body engulfs in flames, and you have felled the creature.
We did it. We have to get out of here quickly. We don't know how many more there can be.
All right, Dork, if you're done showing off, can we please save everyone? Come on. And I go and start slamming on the door with my loot.
I look around and see if I can see any way of opening the door again.
I keep hitting it with my loot.
Like maybe something fell off the
Make an
creature or something.
Make an investigation check.
I don't
15.
understand why you're not having me roll an attack roll for my attacks on the door.
Roll a strength check.
20. No, 17.
You hit the door and it has some give, but it is still locked. With your investigation check, you find hanging from the leather straps that crisscross the body of the creature a key that's carved from black bone. And you see that it looks similar to the lock on the door itself. So you're able to open the door and you find your companions on the other side. The magic of the void fades, and you once again find yourself standing in the midst of the Colosseum. The withered husk of Safina unmoving, and the final wisps of her magic spent. And that is the end of your session.
Woo! Chris Pine, what was that? I forgot your character's name.
Edgin.
Edgin. Okay. Thank you so much, T. That was great.
Thanks, T.
You're welcome, guys.